Okay, so this is English language paper 1, and we are going to start by having a look at question 3, because that's a tricky one, all about structure. So if you could turn to question 3, let's have a look. Here it is. And as usual, we highlight the keywords in the question. We need to think about the whole of the source. This text is from the beginning of a novel. How has the writer structured the text to interest you as a reader? And we're advised to write about what the writer focuses your attention on at the beginning and why the writer changes the focus as the source develops. So you could write a paragraph about each of those, or you could write 2 paragraphs about this one. 8 marks, so we're after 2 paragraphs. Before we have a look at the text, I want to just have a think about what structural features are. So just down the side of our page, I'm going to try and remember 8 structural features. So we've got zoom in or out. We've got change in setting or weather. Introduction of new character. Write these down on your paper so you don't forget them. What else have we got? We could have increase or decrease in pace or tension. We could have recurring symbols or images. What else have we got? We have got flashbacks and foreshadowing. Nearly there. Let's have a little think. How about introduction of new character? And one more to get us up to the 8. How about change in perspective? So whose viewpoint are we looking at? So there are 8 things to look for. And remember, I'm just going to make a little note up here, no language. You start writing about alliteration, etc., you won't get any marks. So now we're going to look at our source, and we're going to look for any of these things in our source. So turn to your source, source A. Only got one source for this paper, so it should be quite straightforward. And we're going to look for those things. So we'll read it together. Make sure you highlight as we're going along. This extract is from the beginning of a novel by Graham Joyce. A young married couple, Zoe and Jake, are on holiday, on a skiing holiday in the French Pyrenean mountains. It was snowing again. Gentle 6-pointed flakes from a picture book were settling on her jacket sleeve. The mountain air prickled with ice and the smell of pine resin. Several hundred metres below lay the dark outline of St Bernard en Hout. I may have pronounced that wrong. Their Pyrenean resort village. Across to the west, the irregular peaks of the mountain range. Zoe pulled the air in her lungs, feeling the crackling cold of it before letting go. And when the mountains seemed to nod and sigh back at her, she almost thought she could die in that place, and happily. So let's section that off. What does the writer focus our attention on? Setting, weather, why? Well, it shows that these pair of skiers are in quite an isolated place, maybe quite an unusual place. But look how happy she is. Snowing, we've got there, prickled with ice. Does that sound maybe a little bit sinister? Sinister undertone maybe, even though she's really happy. If there are a few moments in life that come as clear and pure as ice, when the mountain breathed back at her, Zoe knew that she had trapped one such moment and that it could never be taken away. Elsewhere was snow and silence. Snow and silence, the complete arrest of life, a rehearsal and a pre-echo of death. She pointed her skis down the hill. They looked like weird talons, brilliant red and gold, in the powder snow as she waited, ready to swoop. I'm alive. I am an eagle. Okay, so we do have a little bit of a change there. I think that's a change in perspective, because it tells us, it focuses or it zooms in on Zoe's feelings. And Zoe is feeling powerful, isn't she? Maybe Zoe is a bit too cocky. The sun was up now. Let's move that up a bit there. The sun was up now. In a few minutes there would be more skiers to break the eerie morning spell. But right now they had the snow and the morning entirely to themselves. There was a whisper behind her. It was the effortless track of Jake's skis as he came over the ridge and caught up with her. This is perfection. You ready to go? She asked. Yeah, let's do it. So clearly we've got a turning point here, new character. And the purpose of the new character is to add to this air of perfection. He feels the same as her. And like usually in books and plays and TV programmes, when everyone's happy, you know something bad's around the corner, because otherwise it'd be really boring. They got up early to beat the holiday-making hordes for this first run of the morning. Because this, the tranquility, the silence, the undisturbed snow, and the feeling of proximity to an eagle's flight was what it was all about. Jake hit the west side of the steep but broad slope, and she took the east, carving matching parallel tracks through the fresh snow. So that's focusing on their skiing, and they seem quite skilled, don't they? Not much to say about that. But at the edge of the slope, near the curtain of trees, she felt a small slab of snow slip from under her. So here we've got a very clear change in tone. It sounds dangerous, signalled by this word here, but. It was like she'd been booked, so she took the fall line to recover her balance. Before she dropped 300 metres, the whisper of her skis was displaced by a rumble. Zoe saw that at the periphery of her vision that Jake had come to a halt at the side of the piste and was looking back up the slope. Irritated by the false start they had made, she etched a few turns before skidding to a halt and turning to look back at her husband. Nothing there, I don't think. Very fruitful, so we'll carry on. The rumble became louder. There was a pillar of what looked like grey smoke unfurling in the silky banners at the head of the slope, like the heraldry of armies. It was beautiful, made her smile. Then her smile iced over. Jake was speeding straight towards her. His face was rubberised, and he mouthed something as he flew at her. Okay, so here we've got a change in tone again. We've got an increase in tension. So we know whatever the bad thing is about to happen. Bad thing will happen. Oh no. The rumble becoming louder signals that. Her smile icing over signals that as well. Get to the side, to the side. She knew now that it was an avalanche. Oh dear. Jake slowed, batting at her with his ski pole. Get to the trees, hang onto a tree. The rumbling, so we've got this recurring image here, or recurring sound of the rumbling. Now if you trace that back through the text, that signalled the avalanche. So it signalled the danger. Signalled danger. Rumbling become, drowning out Jake's words, yes. She pushed herself down the fall line, scrambling for traction, trying to accelerate away from the roaring cloud breaking behind her like a tsunami at sea. Jagged black cracks appeared in the snow in front of her. She angled her skis towards the side of the slope, heading for the trees, but it was too late. She saw Jake's black suit go bundling past her as he was turned by the great mass of smoke and snow. Then she too was punched off her feet and carried through the air, twisting, spinning, turning in the whiteout. She remembered something about spreading her arms around her head. For a few moments it was like being agitated inside a washing machine, turning head over heels a few times, until at last she was dumped heavily in a cracking fall. Then there came a chattering noise, like the amplified jaws of a million termites chewing on wood. The noise itself filled her ears and muffled everything, and then there was silence, and a total whiteness faded to grey, and then to black. So this whole bit here is a zoom in on the accident, the avalanche. We've also got here at the end silence, which contrasts to the noise of the rumble, so we know that the bad thing has happened and we have to deal with the aftermath of it. Okay, so clearly we can't write about all of those things, so we're just going to write about a couple.